What do the Eagles do with Dallas Goedert at tight end? Will they find a new backup quarterback? What's the deal at right guard? So many questions to answer, so many priorities for the Eagles to have as they head into the offseason. Talking about it next on the PHLY Eagles Show with Jamie Lynch in studio. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast. Bo Wulf, Jamie Lynch in studio as we prepare to go position by position through the Eagles roster and talk about what maybe the fan is most interested in over the course of the offseason at each position, and then what the Eagles front office priorities are. But we did have a little bit of news before the show. Jamie, you sent me a little text to update me on the report. Dan Graziano from ESPN with the report that the salary cap will rise as expected this offseason, but even more than was expected, up to $27.5 million, or in the range between there and 281. What did I say? 27? I meant $277.5 million to $281.5 million. Yeah, big difference there.
Yeah.
But about $5 million or so in the range more than was expected, depending on if you were looking at over the cap or spot track. But the big deal is this is the second biggest increase in league history after last year's, about a $55 million increase over the past 2 years. Good news for the Eagles.
Yeah, you know where the first place my mind went when I saw this tweet?
I think I have an idea, but I want you to say it.
Joe Shane,
so
you silly man, you. Because I just think back to Hard Knocks last year, and he's sitting there at his computer, and it was probably this day or the equivalent of last year, and he starts getting on the horn to his assistant GMs in front office, and he's like, "Oh, the cap went up more than we expected."
Yeah, and that was one where it was a very funny scene because you're like, is that just played for the cameras? Because if not, like, that's not a good.
No,
that's not a guy who knows what he's doing.
The league basically said, "Hey, you can keep Saquon. You just got $5 extra million."
Yeah,
and they were like,
instead of very out of touch.
Yeah, instead of like rejoicing and being like, "Oh, we get to keep this franchise great," he was like, "Oh, wow, I don't know what to do with all this money."
And I think if you are thinking about this from an Eagles perspective, it's less about, oh, there's an extra $5 or so million in the cap. What does this mean they can do this offseason now? Because I don't think it's going to change their plans for this offseason that much. I still think my expectation is their offseason plan is going to be, they're most likely recoup some comp picks. They're going to play that game that they have done in years past, assuming that Milton Williams and Josh Sweat sign really big deals, maybe Mekhi Becton as well. We'll see about Zach Bond. That means I think the Eagles' big moves are likely to come in, via trade or from street free agents. I think that will certainly sniff around Myles Garrett.
Max Crosby,
what this is more about than this offseason is sort of like more of a parade and more of a celebration of the way that the Eagles have been operating for years under Howie Roseman. As they push things forward, you defer the payments. Those payments become less and less a percentage of the salary cap. For instance, you think about when they signed Jalen Hurts to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL 2 offseasons ago, and the cap has risen, $55 million since then. All of a sudden, it doesn't look like such a crazy deal.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single Eagles fan out there that cares about the dead cap numbers they're paying Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce and others right now because they won. You know what I mean? So, be damned. Who cares? If this continues the model and the cap going up is good for business, this is a great situation the Eagles are in because they front cash other owners who I'll just say are cheap.
Yes.
Won't.
Yeah, I mean, like this is
very simple.
Yeah, and Jerry Jones does not primarily care about winning.
I saw our counterpart down at DLLS the other day, Jeff Kavanaugh, tweet out like, "Hey, Cowboys fans, you think Jerry's going to do this? This is what the Cowboys are up against. A guy willing to sell percentage of his team to get more cash fluid to spend more money on championship rosters." And no, I don't think Jerry or other owners that are greedy and don't really care about the cities they're in are going to do that.
Oh, wow. We have breaking news.
Ooh.
Real, true breaking news. This is fascinating.
Ooh. You got
push
the alerts.
notification from the Eagles. The Eagles have named Kevin Patullo as the offensive coordinator. This is very interesting on several fronts. One, we didn't hear any reports of
this morning was all but shoot in.
Sure, but from an Eagles perspective, we didn't hear any reports of who else they have interviewed. Like they have to comply with the Rooney Rule, and all of that stuff seems to have happened behind the scenes without reporting. And Kevin Patullo, who is certainly thought of as the leading internal candidate, is going to get this job.
Oh, no. You know the first place my mind goes with this? Zach Berman's regret not being here today.
Yeah, he just texted me.
Yeah. He's gonna floor it in here.
He's gonna call in. There's zero chance that he's gonna want to sit this out. But yes, this is very interesting, and we talked about this as a possibility. And I think there are two ways to think about this from the like Nick Sirianni aspect of this. On the one hand, you can think, okay, Nick Sirianni's hiring his boy. This is Kevin Patullo is the guy who was on the flight with him when he came from Indianapolis. Like he has been his right-hand man since the very beginning, because he has had sort of this nebulous passing game coordinator title and doesn't meet with the media very often. He is often, and even in the wire services, is often misidentified as Nick Sirianni. Like people think of them as intertwined. And so you might be thinking, oh, like part of the success this season was Nick Sirianni being a little bit more hands-off with the offense. He's hiring his boy. Does this just mean that it's going to be a continuation of the Nick Sirianni offense? I think the flip side to that is Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo have such a good relationship that maybe this is the person who Nick Sirianni is going to be willing to be hands-off with, because he trusts this guy to run things the way he knows it. Yes. Yeah, exactly. He sees it the way that he sees it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I like the Eagles are coming off. I'm coming off of a Super Bowl high here. I don't really give a damn who they hired, because they've garnered. I have trust in them and the way they're running. Now, it's very funny to think a year ago I wanted to fire Nick Sirianni. Winning a Super Bowl gains you equity and trust.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, so like I think they've done a very good job of hiring for the most part under Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. So if they deem him as the guy, sure, I'm ready to roll.
I'm very grateful to the Eagles for making this announcement right now in the middle of the show.
That was very nice.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, but nice. I'm
not waiting till like 3:15.
I didn't really care who they hired.
It's interesting, and also
I didn't have any strong opinions.
The fact that this happens so late. Sure. And at the end of the hiring cycle changes the calculation as well. You would be working with a smaller pool, and I'm curious to see what comes out of the reporting after the fact, who else they interviewed. But I think Jalen Hurts was asked about Kevin Patullo and the possibility of him being offensive coordinator, and he did not exactly give a ringing endorsement in his.
Does he ever really give ringing endorsements?
Well, that's a fair question, but he said, well, he was basically going to say, well, he's never done it before, but he said he does have a good relationship with Patullo, but he can't really speak to it because he's never called plays. I think it's interesting, and also, I mean, it's not unexpected. I'm curious to see how it all works out. I think there was reason to fall on the side here of continuity makes sense in this case.
Now, do you think, I guess the first question that pops into my mind is, does this take Sirianni more away from the CEO coach and back into the play calling?
Yeah, I think that's what is interesting here. And I think the hope here has to be no. I think the hope here has to be, because he has full trust in Kevin Patullo, that Kevin Patullo is left alone.
Yeah, I would think that is, I think a lot of Sirianni's success. I think you've always said it very well that maybe Sirianni isn't a great coach on all 32 teams, but on this particular team, with the motivation factor, overseeing everything, the attention to detail, he's able to see that little stuff where he's not buried. I think in this first year or two, while successful, I think he got buried in the play chart too much and missed some of the 30,000-foot view things. So I think the CEO role worked out very well for him. So I don't necessarily want to see him revert from that and dive back into a play sheet and get lost and start missing those big picture things. So
let us know what you think in the chat. How do you feel about the Patullo hire? It is also going to be very interesting to see what they do, presumably at quarterbacks coach, because we expect that Doug Nussmeier is going to leave to become the offensive coordinator for Kellen Moore in New Orleans. This is going to be a very important hire for the Eagles, especially as they, if you're promoting Kevin Patullo to offensive coordinator, you're now losing a spot in the coaching staff for the person who was the passing game coordinator. So I would also expect, even in addition to a quarterbacks coach, they're going to add some kind of senior.
Is there a name
consultant
that is near boiling point for that type of job that you know of?
No, I mean, like Frank Reich is the guy who everybody's going to point to because of the Sirianni connection, but it's hard to say what his interest in that would be.
Yeah, I've heard or read some things that he's very comfortable in his church and situation down in Carolina, and he's very involved in the community, and he's ready to take a back seat. Who knows? You throw a little bit of money at somebody, it changes everything. That would be interesting, though. Get the boys back together.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Not impossible. Chat seems
torn.
Not even. I think they're also in the Super Bowl afterglow.
Yeah,
it's hard to get worked up one way or the other.
They could have said Wulf is the new offensive coordinator. I'd be like, let's roll.
Yeah, here we go.
You got an all-star team on offense. It's really not going to. We'll talk about it with Becton. There's not going to be an offensive change outside of maybe right guard and a backup running back. So I think I would imagine most Eagles fans are kind of like, this offense is ready-made. Don't veer too far from what you were good at. You have Saquon Barkley. You have that line. You have great, and maybe Dallas Goedert changes, but the offense is ready to. It's it's ready to roll.
This is interesting. Tom Pelissero. Now they're coming. This is coming hot and heavy, and this was interesting because usually it's like somebody's going to report that the Eagles have an offensive coordinator.
Sure.
This was not the case. The Eagles announced it first. Now you're getting some other drips and drabs coming. I believe Tom Pelissero was the first to report the Eagles now expected to hire Parks Frazier as the passing game coordinator, replacing Kevin Patullo in that framing. Now, Parks Frazier, if you will remember, was the Colts young coach on the offensive side, who I believe took over from Marcus Brady in the interim offensive coordinator capacity at the end of that half season before Steichen got hired.
Yeah, 2018-19 was his first year, assistant to the head coach with the Colts, and then he became offensive quality control in 2020. Then 21-22 was the assistant quarterbacks coach, and then became interim OC. I imagine, was that the Jeff Saturday weird phase?
Yeah, I think that might be right.
So he was interim OC during that. And they actually...
And obviously this is... And I mean, listen, this is a little bit incestuous.
Sure.
These are all guys who have worked together.
But isn't that what NFL coaching hires mostly is?
It's a deep network of cronyism.
Yeah. It's the good old boys network, and you bring your boy. I mean, part of pitching for a job is the staff you're presenting too, right? And it's like, of course, you're going to present the people you know and trust and you've worked close with and know can be successful and are hard workers. So, yeah, I'm fine with all this. Whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean,
they just won.
I actually think that the who's going to be the quarterback's coach is still very interesting, and we need to have it confirmed that Kevin Patullo is going to be calling plays on game day and not.
What would you put those odds at?
I would expect it 90-10 that Patullo is going to call plays.
And is that still a Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie decision, or do you think Sirianni gains a little more sweat equity now?
I mean, I think this tells you that Sirianni has more equity certainly than he did last offseason.
Sure.
But I think that decision is still being made by Jeffrey Lurie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Colts are they're all here now. Ready to thrive. Bring Frank Reich in the mix, and you got the whole staff reunited.
Hire Frank Reich as quarterbacks coach, and the whole thing really comes together.
Somebody, Mikey Y with the capital Y, says Jeff McLean says Patullo will call plays in the chat.
Okay.
So early reporting from Jeff there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these Sirianni and Patullo, as I wrote about on allphly.com, these are two guys who they go back a long way together, and you should become a diehard. Now is a good time. In the Super Bowl afterglow, those are the people who are celebrating with each other, celebrating the weight of everything that they have accomplished, and so now they get to go do it together.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. Bring your boys along with you for the ride. I mean, Kevin Patullo, you and Zach talked about Super Bowl week. Like, if he didn't get this opportunity now, like, was he ever? Like, he was at the point
I agree with that.
Where, like, all right, do you want to advance and become an OC and potentially a head coach one day? Or are you comfortable just being a passing game coordinator and maybe having some more job security and geolocation security? It looks like he was ready. I mean, nice payday, I'm sure, coming with it.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Zach has written about this before as well, and when he did the story on Doug and Garrett Nussmeier, that Kevin Patullo's job, one of his jobs, was sort of just to call out Nick when he was being an a-hole, and like be the guy to sort of check him. And so now, if their dynamic is a little bit different, can you still play that role? Can you still call the guy an a-hole when he's, your direct boss as offensive coordinator?
I mean,
Probably.
Still theoretically was his boss even when he was on call-out duty, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think a ton changed, but I hear you. It's a little more awkward, I guess. You don't want to, show somebody up in a meeting.
Sure.
Yeah. So maybe there's some awkwardness there, or maybe Sirianni is a guy. I think he clearly has shown you he has thick skin, so maybe he can handle that type of stuff. Maybe that's one of his strengths.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
OC.
Stuff is happening.
DC OC set. Let's roll.
Glad they did it in the middle of the show. That's so much better. Shout out to the
How many notifications do you have set there? I see your Blue Sky noties popping up.
Yeah, that one is just that's a mention, which doesn't need to be on. I do have the Eagles tweet notifications on, which I find important.
I think I only have like 2 or 3 notifications set.
Everybody's offering to jump in now. Fran says he wants to jump in and give thoughts if we want a few minutes.
Of course.
For Patullo. So yeah, why don't you can send those Zoom links along, Julia. We'll make it a party.
Yeah,
why not?
Patullo day.
No days off. In the meantime, why don't we take a quick break to hear from our sponsors as we try to rally the PHLY troops who want to react to the news of the Eagles' new offensive coordinator. We're gonna have to change this thumb and everything. We start with the good folks at Glatt Hair Restoration. If you were looking to make a little change up top, their board-certified experts have performed thousands of hair and plastic surgery procedures. Each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of treatment. Glatt Hair by Morgan Stern Medical utilizes leading-edge treatments for prevention and restoration, such as laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, topical and oral medications, PRP and stem cell restoration, and more. Caring patient advocates work with you from the first phone call to the last follow-up visit. They understand that this decision can be emotional and challenging. They're here to help make your experience simple and stress-free. Glatt Hair isn't just about restoration, it's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives. Change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional. Regain your confidence with Glatt Hair by Morgan Stern Medical. Learn more at GlattHairMCTR.com. That's Glatt, GlattHairMCTR.com.
And our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. They're housed and headquartered right here in Fort Washington, and they have 24 area locations all across the Delaware Valley. And now they're here to help you with that holiday bill that might have stacked up and gotten a little larger than you're comfortable with. Well, what if you could pay it off faster and with zero interest until 2026? It's true, but you gotta move soon. The offer closes February 28th, but they're offering a zero interest balance transfer for 12 months. So your payments can go towards reducing your balance, not just covering your interest. So transfer your existing balance from another institute to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card and take advantage of this amazing offer. So whether you're interested in earning rewards, cash back, or simply prefer that low rate for everyday purchases, TrueMark Financial can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. Visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fee applies. Standard rates after the promotional rate. They do look alike. Like the Eagles put out
bit.
the official image, so I can see why
Yeah.
people confuse Sirianni and him from afar if you didn't know.
All right, let's go to Zach Berman now, who just cannot stay away.
Very funny. They sent Zach away to get some rest on a day where breaking news
I told
happens.
him that was not smart.
It's just chewing him up inside.
He's got about 4 minutes, I think, before he's got to go. So Zach, the Eagles have hired Kevin Patullo as offensive coordinator. Go.
Yeah, this was a move that I expected. We'll see how it comes.
You were on it right away, Zach.
But we'll see how I think this is different than the Brian Johnson situation. The similarities of course is that you're staying in house. It's an internal promotion, it's someone who does not have the play calling experience. But Kevin Patullo, I think, is in lockstep with Nick Sirianni. Now, when I spoke to Kevin Patullo, and I spoke to him quite a bit at the Super Bowl, and we'll have a big piece up on allphly.com later tonight about Kevin Patullo, he was adamant to me that he's not just an extension of Nick Sirianni, that they disagree quite a bit, that they have that's part of their relationship. They go back a long time, right? A matter of fact, when Nick Sirianni got his first NFL coaching job with the Kansas City Chiefs as an offensive quality control guy, the person he took over for was Kevin Patullo. Chan Gailey, who was with the Chiefs at the time, actually had Patullo call Sirianni and kind of go over everything. And they worked together with the Colts. Kevin Patullo also has a background with a lot of coaches on the staff. He worked with Aaron Moorhead at Texas A&M and in Indianapolis. He worked with Jason Michael, the tight ends coach, with the Tennessee Titans. So the offensive coordinator, and this is something Frank Reich always said, your job is to be the coordinator of the offense. You're bringing in all these different voices. So Kevin Patullo has background there. But yeah, he does not have play calling experience. Now, the Eagles are in a different stage than they've been in the past. I do think they valued the continuity. Like Bo said before I came on, I'm curious to see who else they spoke to. But it really seemed, especially after the win, leading up to the game, but after the win, that this was the direction that they were going to go. So the fact that they kind of announced it, you could say out of the blue, they probably did their interviews and they were ready to make this announcement. That might jump out, but this was the expected result for a lot of people inside that building.
Yeah, it's weird we haven't heard about other people they interviewed, right, Zach?
Yeah, good point. And to your point, Bo, it's similar in that respect to 2023, right?
Yes.
At the Combine, Nick Sirianni mentioned Nate Shieldhouse as someone that they interviewed then, and it was viewed almost as like I hate to put it this way, as a satisfaction of the Rooney Rule, right? So I am curious who else they interviewed there, but I imagine they spoke to people on their staff too. But it seemed all along that this was going to be Kevin Patullo. Now, we mentioned Nate Shieldhouse. The Rams announced a promotion for him today. So perhaps he's someone that the Eagles spoke to behind the scenes, right?
Another promotion? Didn't he just get a promotion?
He announced that he was coming back to the Rams, and they elevated his title during the past 24 hours.
Again, because they had already done that a week ago, right?
They did not elevate his title a week ago. I think he announced that
then this was just an official announcement of something that had been reported, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So that did come out. But in Patullo's case, look, he's interviewed for coordinator jobs before. I'm not going to frame it like Brian Johnson in that he would have been a coordinator somewhere else, if not the Eagles, because this late in the cycle, there aren't those jobs open outside of the Saints, which we're expecting to be Doug Nussmeier. But I do think they valued continuity. Now, you guys mentioned Jalen Hurts gave a relatively lukewarm endorsement last week. I think it was more Jalen being cryptic. Jalen was answering the question literally, and what Jalen was saying is that he doesn't know Kevin Patullo in the role of offensive coordinator. It's a different type of role, calling plays compared to the pass game coordinator. But I know when you talk to people inside that building about Patullo, he's probably the most powerful coach that fans don't know about, right? He is, as Bo said, Nick Sirianni's right-hand man. Nick Sirianni does not make a decision, and Nick said this, does not make a decision, a football decision or an off-field decision without consulting with Patullo first. So this was actually, I think this was something that Nick would have been very interested in 2 years ago. Nick wasn't really allowed to do this last year, right? They had to go for the outside voice. This was the next in line candidate. So it would have surprised me if it was not Patullo. I know I said on air at the Super Bowl that let's not name Patullo the coordinator yet.
But you were kind of you were also saying
within the episode it became a fait accompli, and then all of a sudden not anymore. But
yeah, yes. I think probably there were people in the building who were trying to push back on the idea that the decision had already been made. But my guess is this decision had already been made. The Eagles were prepared for Kellen Moore to move on, and I think just from the conversations that I was having with people, not just Patullo, people on the staff at the Super Bowl, they were talking as if this was going to happen.
Yes, and Lane Johnson already
I was just going to say,
tweeting his support. Go ahead.
Zach, his relationship with the players, is he like perhaps a players type of coach and then like the bad cop with Nick Sirianni? Like, what is the relationship with the players and Kevin Patullo? Because Lane Johnson, from a tweet, seems pretty excited by the hire.
Yeah, so it's a good question, Jamie, because he works with the entire offense, right? This is not like promoting your quarterback's coach who maybe isn't in the O-line room, or like he's working with the entire offense as the passing game coordinator. A lot of the situational work he is responsible for. So he has the background with the offensive lineman. He has the background with the wide receivers. A matter of fact, he has a wide receivers coach background. He has a quarterbacks coach background. So you'll see him at practice sometimes working with Devontae Smith, working with A.J. Brown. So I think with the high-profile players on the team, there is that established relationship.
All right, last question for me, Zach, and I got to go. Parks Frazier now joining the staff. Without knowing who the quarterback's coach is, are you at all worried about not that it's a cronyism thing, but just a diversity of ideas in terms of offensive philosophy in the passing game? Do you think it's important that they add somebody who comes from any kind of different system?
I do. I always think that's a good thing, especially when you're talking about roles like passing game coordinator or even quarterback coach, right? I do think that diversity of ideas is important. You want it to be a melting pot of offensive philosophies. As we've discussed, when you're this late in the game, the pool of candidates is different, especially when you go for, I don't want to say lower level jobs, but it's hard to get someone to be your quarterback's coach or your passing game coordinator unless they're out of work, right? But Parks Frazier is someone who, as we know, worked with Frank Reich, worked with Nick Sirianni, worked with Kevin Patullo. So there is that background there. But it's something you guys were talking about, and it's true. Nick does have more sway here, right? Nick won the Super Bowl. When you win the Super Bowl, he's going to get a contract extension. You don't necessarily get your staff forced onto you. So I think that there is if Nick's asking me, I would go outside the family, so to speak, and bring in different ideas. But you also are limited often to people who are out of work right now or people who are eligible for a promotion. You can't just pilfer a different staff.
All right, Zach, get out of here. Thank you for making the time.
I am so jealous of Jamie right now. I wish I was in that seat. This is the only day of the year that I'm picking up my kids from school. They're going to be I'm going to be a little distracted in the car, but there will be a piece up on all PHLY.
Yeah, no, don't be distracted. Are you bringing a treat? Are you going all out here? What are you doing?
This is the only day all year you're picking them up?
You getting some munchkins? What's the plan?
Well, because they get out at 3, right? So our show's 2 to 3, so I can't pick them up.
But you have other days off you can take.
All right, yeah. So there's probably during the summer when school's out. But anyways, there'll be a piece on allphly.com where you'll hear from Kevin Patullo. I worked ahead planning for this scenario, so I'm excited for that story. You can find that on phly.com later tonight.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Zach Berman. And we go from Zach Berman to another member of the PHLY Eagles family.
Thighs.
Oh, he says he's in there. Oh, Julia says she doesn't see him.
Fran's doing so many hits these days. Maybe he's on
live said he was
with Dallas right now. It's the only day of the year I get to pick up my kids. He's the best.
Deranged.
Now, if you were doing a unprompted pickup that wasn't your norm, would you spice it up with a little dad treat? Well,
Jane yells at me if I don't bring a treat, or
okay.
not a treat, a snack.
Yeah,
any kind of food for her at pickup.
Yeah. Does she get angry?
Yeah, and she also yells at me if I picked her up yesterday and I'm picking her up today. She's like, it's 2 days in a row. We got to switch it up.
Well, yesterday the Fanatic was at
she's
Skylar's
furious.
school, and she,
nice.
Yeah, a teacher won a reading competition and won the privilege to have the Fanatic at the school. And she was very adamant I had to pick her up yesterday on Fanatic Day.
Nice.
I told her I couldn't pick her up today, and she was just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Okay, you got Fanatic Day.
Yeah, Fanatic Day was a big deal.
We got to do a family show and tell for Casey's class today.
Oh, family
highlight
show
of the week. Like,
what did you get? What did you bring?
Well, we go into the class for like 15 minutes, and we showed a couple pictures. We talked about you're supposed to do like something that's like a tradition in your family. We just talked about that. We play games during dinner.
What's the hot game these days?
Well, right now it's Pokemon. We are. Yeah. Casey and I play the Pokemon game twice a night. It's just nonstop.
We're big on the Marvel matching game right now.
Okay.
Very heated family contest.
Nice.
Yeah.
We do a little Uno, do a little dinosaur bingo, just like a animal guessing game, which is just 20 questions for an animal.
Yeah.
And how about 20 questions for a Franimal? There he is.
Hey,
Duffman.
What's up, guys?
Emerged from the film cave as he's
Who were you breaking down?
Who were you watching? Who were you watching 20 minutes ago?
20 seconds ago, I was watching Marcus Bow. So a player right after your own heart. Now,
how does he spell
Marcus Bow? Bo Marcus.
MBOW is the spelling of the last name, but the M is silent, so it's Marcus Bow. So you're a man after your own heart.
Nice. What position? What school?
Offensive tackle from Purdue. Very athletic kid. I would say likely top 40 as I'm sitting here now. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. He was up and down in Mobile, but he's a really athletic tackle, and those guys typically go early. So
couple Boilermakers.
That's right.
Love it. All right, Fran, you have been in the building with Kevin Patullo. You've talked ball with Kevin Patullo. What are your thoughts on him as a football mind and as the hire as offensive coordinator?
Yeah, we talked about it at the school, and I think that when you look at Kevin Patullo, one thing that always stood out to me, he did probably like 3 or 4 segments when I did those film breakdowns when I worked with the Eagles, and he was always one of my favorite guests to have in that segment because he was always such a very clear communicator, and I say that knowing, like obviously all coaches know ball, communicate ball really well, right? But I mean just like contextually compared to other coaches I've had, and I've been doing those breakdowns since like 2012. We were doing those breakdowns with coaches coming in studio, and I think that to me, Patullo was always one of my favorites. His ability to clearly and concisely say like, this is what we expect. This is how we teach it. This is what stood out on this play conceptually. This is the technique that the player used to be able to win. I think that he was always he was always one of my favorite guests, on that segment, just because I always knew like the fans would be able to come away from that smarter. I think it's exciting to see him get that opportunity. And it's obviously this will be the conversation, right? Is what is the identity of the offense going to be? My guess is we're not going to see that many different huge differences. Going from Sirianni and Steichen to Kellen Moore and now to Patullo. I think the offense, like the bones of it, I think are going to remain pretty similar.
So, Fran, philosophically, is it safe to assume that they see eye to eye on most offensive things? We've heard that he can be the heavy with Nick and call him out if he goes too far and out of line, but do they, for the most part, jive, or do you think there are some differences, maybe some major ones, maybe some minor ones in their visions?
I'm not in those rooms with them, right?
Sure.
So I couldn't say like with certainty, Jamie, but I know, you guys know from experience, right? Sometimes when you have a close friend, you are able to be more honest with them than someone that you're not as close with, right? And so I would imagine that you're going to have that ability to, that flexibility to not overstep, but push the boundaries, right? More so than someone that you're not as close with. So I'm sure that, Patullo and Sirianni not afraid to go at each other in that way. I don't think that it's just going to be like oh, like Nick's pulling the strings and Patullo's just going to do anything that Nick says. That would be my guess, that it won't go that way. I think that, look, Kevin Patullo's been in this league for a long time. He's been around the game for a long time. He's had different experiences and been around different coaches over the course of his career. And so I think that there will certainly be some ideas that, that go into the offense this year that are a little bit different. But like I said, I think the bones are the same. I think that the differences that we see probably are going to be pretty subtle, in terms of like how things are deployed, how things are called. So I think that that's something certainly to watch here moving forward.
Just to set the record straight, Julia, Fran did not tell me that he was in the Zoom.
He's in for the show.
He said, I'm in, meaning I'm in to join.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just so everybody knows, he knows his way around technology. He wasn't in the wrong place. He knows how to.
He didn't boomer out on us. Yeah.
And we also didn't keep him waiting in the waiting room. So that's good.
That's very big of us.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I jumped right in. I thought, it was like the anti-Zach.
There you go.
Well, if you were Zach, Bo would hit an ad break now.
That's true.
Yeah, we gotta go ads. Yeah, we're here for our friends at Shady Rays and everyone else.
What do you think, Fran, in terms of, they've got at least one more spot to fill on this offensive coaching staff at quarterbacks coach and maybe somebody else after Parks Frazier. Do you think that there is some kind of background you would like to see them layer into what is now a bit of a homogenous group schematically?
Yeah, I think that it would be beneficial to get something a little bit different, someone outside of the tree, from that standpoint. That said, I do think that, look, the Eagles that we've seen now over the course of the last 6 years, right, over a couple different coaches, that they're trying to always try and fill the pipeline, right, and make sure that you have that ability to bring young coaches along. And at times we have seen that young coach get installed as the quarterback coach, and it hasn't always worked well. I think that, when you look at one of the things I liked about the Doug Nussmeier hire was that this is a guy that's been around, that has an assertive voice, has that, has pelts on the wall from that standpoint, right? And his voice carries weight with a player like Jalen. It's not someone that Jalen is older than or can see as a peer in that way, right? I think that is something that is important, I think, for this quarterback, for this team, for this franchise, is making sure that you have someone in there that can bring different ideas, but you also don't want it to be, a 24-year-old up and comer, right? I think I think you probably want a strong voice in that role.
Well, we were very interested to see how it all plays out. You got any names, like any quarterbacks coaches out there that you can think of? You're piped in.
Oh,
that's tough. That's put you on the spot.
I'd have to go and look and see some of the guys that are on the market still. I track Flynn. All the coaching comings and goings, but I don't have that list right in front of me. So I can provide that list here in the coming days. But no, it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do, though, and maybe that could be someone too that comes from the college ranks as well, that they want to try and bring some new ideas in.
Fran, what do the ladies say when I walk into the club?
I don't know. What do they say?
Bo.
Thankfully, the pronunciation is just Bo. There's no in there. It's just...
So that one can die, you're saying? The is implied.
Yeah. Well, I'll let that one simmer for a
Get that
bit,
in your notes on the draft guide that everybody should become a diehard to get. Can you work that in somewhere?
Yeah, we'll see if that one makes it or if that gets left on the cutting room floor.
Okay. Well, I'll be reading, so I look forward to it.
The draft guide is awesome. Everybody should become a diehard. It is awesome, though, Fran. I finally, now that I'm in the post Super Bowl, it's now draft season, and I've been diving more and more into the draft guide, and it's absolutely phenomenal. If you're not a diehard and you don't have one, you should really consider getting it. The fact that we get full access to your brain and your process, is it being a living document, is very cool. It's unlike anything else I've really come across in draft season. So it's great stuff, man. You should be proud.
Yeah. And what's fun about it too is like I know someone in the Discord was asking this morning, like, "Oh, there's no notes on Travion Henderson, the running back from Ohio State," and it just so happened that I was doing
literally
Henderson
just got
this morning.
added.
I was doing his film this morning. Well, it's so literally like someone responded was like, "No, what are you talking about? The notes are in there." And it's like, well, I literally probably when the guy was posting it in the Discord, I was just finishing up my notes. As soon as I hit send,
very funny.
and you know it reflects on the site, and I was like, "Oh no, he's his RB5. What are you talking about? Here's the full report." So literally, as I'm watching players and making adjustments and adjusting rankings on my end, those notes happened, and it's available for you to be able to ingest. So,
and you're hoping to get between 250 and 300 guys done. Is that what I heard?
We'll see. It's a healthy benchmark on my end, but you know me, I'm up for the challenge. I'm gonna see if we can hit that.
That's awesome.
And we should also say that tomorrow at noon is the premiere of the latest episode of the PHLY Eagles Draft Show with Fran Duffy. We talk about 5 positions of interest for the Eagles in Indianapolis: tight end, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, edge, and linebacker. And the position, and we're going through with buckets for each things in terms of the guys who Fran thinks are going to test really well, the guys who have a lot of draft variability depending on how well they do test, and then some specific potential fits for the Eagles. So if you are an Eagles draft sicko, make sure you check out that episode. And thank you very much, Fran, for taking the time. Go back to Mr. Bo.
Just Bo. Well, from one Bo to another, I'll continue my afternoon. Thanks, guys.
All right. We love you.
See you, Fran.
Let's take a quick break to get ourselves situated and hear from our sponsors. Not an ordinary episode. Got some breaking news. You know where else it's never ordinary? Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide, and they live stream over 780,000 events each year with early payout offers across the NBA and NHL. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, and today they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get that $150 in bonus bets. Again, win or lose. This weekend, you got those Slam Dunk Saturdays. It's another Bet365 Slam Dunk Saturday. Place qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on the NBA games and get up to $25 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Here is the offer and incentive to open an account before February 26th. New customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $100 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You reminded me I had to check my account because I forgot I put in. My buddy had a baby girl yesterday, and I said I'm gonna bet a game in young Mary's honor.
Oh,
tonight.
nice!
And I threw in on Bet365 BYU -3.
Nice.
Completely forgot about it until you read. Just realized it was a winner. So,
all right.
So thank you, young Mary. And let me tell you about our friends over at Ace Hardware Home Services because they got that. You got a leaky pipe at your house? Well, they got somebody to come to your home and help you fix it. The honey-do list, it's just like, it's forever. It's an infinite sheet that you can never get ahead of. Maybe it's an air conditioning issue, a faucet you said you were going to fix weeks ago and you haven't gotten to it yet. Well, with Ace Hardware Home Services, they're bringing the helpful home, the helpful hardware folks that you love from the store you love right to your front door. From plumbing to heating to cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. They're bringing helpful home, the helpful you love, right to your front door. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
Mentioned the new baby girl.
It was actually a surrogate situation.
Oh, nice.
Friends of ours had some trouble, and her best friend, you'll appreciate this, her best friend offered to have the baby Now, he was a Droid user, and it drove everyone crazy because group chats, it becomes chaos with Droid and Apple.
Sure.
She said she would do it under the pretense that he switched to an iPhone.
Oh,
and
did he do it? That's fantastic.
So we all win. They get a child.
That's
and her best
great.
friend. Yeah, very cool story.
How many children did they have already?
I think 2 or 3.
Okay. Wow.
A very cool, beautiful situation. He was sending us pictures yesterday of the 4 of them, the husband and wife, and it was pretty wild and pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
Unbelievable. My sister-in-law did that for another family member. What an unbelievable,
selfless. I can't even imagine.
I can't. Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane. But good for those people. There's great people in this world.
We don't know if we're having a boy or girl.
Yeah,
this number 3, but we've finalized the
names?
the 32 bracket for the girls for the names.
So are you going head to head?
The boys is going to be it's going to be 64 for the boys.
So are you seeding them?
No, no.
Like, are you doing true March Madness?
No.
Okay.
Organize them alphabetically.
Okay.
And then you place them as if they were seeds, like the S on the S curve. So like if if let's say Aaron is the name, that would be at the top left, and then you go around, and then you go to the 2 seeds and the 3 seeds. You go all the way around. So there you go.
Wow. Who was the selection committee? This was a long process.
Rachel has made it very clear that that the selection committee is essentially one this time around. But I can try to make some movement within her favorites.
How were the naming of the first 2? Was that an easy process, or
the first one? Casey didn't have a name for like the first 36 hours of his life. We went in with like a final 4, final 5.
Yeah.
Wanted to meet the kid first.
Sure.
Get a feel what kind of vibe he's putting down.
Yeah. Does he look like this? Does he feel like this? Yeah, I get
very happy we landed there. And then number 2, very badass. Just when
knew it.
She comes out, Rachel's like, "This is Jane." It's very very cool.
Nice.
So we'll see how it goes to number 3.
I almost didn't name our first Skylar because of a movie character.
What movie character?
Skylar. Skylar White, or excuse me, a TV character, Skylar White.
Oh, okay.
Because name association.
Yeah.
And the name Skylar was ruined to me for a little while because, So, and then one day I was taking a walk, listening to something, and I was like, you stupid idiot. You can't let a TV show.
That's going to, that will pass.
And I'm very, very happy. I told myself to stop being an idiot.
But was it your call?
It was off the list. She was okay with it off the list, but she liked it a lot. And then I was like, put it back on the list. And then we whittled down and it ended up in the top 2 or 3.
Nice.
And Sloan, Zach's daughter, was one of the 3 finalists as well.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So it's a tough process.
Julia, Rachel likes the name B. Likes Beatrice calling B.
Ooh.
There you go. That's a possibility.
Ooh.
It's in the 32. We'll see.
Now, can we get some content out of this for PHLY? You and Rachel do the draft
maybe
naming
Bet 365.
show? Yeah. We can get Fran in here.
I'll bet.
Break down the variables of the name and
it's possible
nicknames and just saying there's some content there.
Just keep in mind the selection committee of 1 and a referee of 1 on this one. So there you go. All right.
Jeff McClain has a list of Kevin Patullo notes. I don't know if some of these are of interest. Basically says Kevin Patullo was the pass game coordinator, but that also involved the run game, particularly the run pass option plays that Patullo helped design in Philadelphia. Couple other things that jumped out. Never called plays in the NFL, but he's involved in the process of game days, had duties in practice settings. Scheme and terminology expected to remain the same under Moore as it was this past year. Jeff Stoutland will retain his title as the run game coordinator and oversee the ground game. So a couple notes.
Yeah, I think the thing here is
the same.
Continuity is a thing you will hear,
and that's in there as well. Yes, and it also says there wasn't an extensive search because they knew.
Right, which they can't say that even if that was very clear.
Sure.
I think there are a couple things here. One is, Kevin Patullo is not going to be surprised by any of the parts of this process, right? As Sirianni says, he was always letting Patullo into the decision-making process. He has been an integral part of the game planning process. He knows the offense. He knows the personnel. all of that stuff is very turnkey. I do think that from an actual play calling standpoint, because he hasn't done that, it's not easy to be like in the middle of the season in September, like, oh, maybe we need to be a little bit patient here as he gets the reps. But that is a thing that will be in the back of our mind. You know, he will presumably be a better in-game play caller in December than he is
absolutely
in September and October.
I mean, usually most employees at whatever job it is, you're not very good at it in the beginning.
You would think.
And I think the key is, you know, trying to not make the same mistakes twice.
Sure. And I think that the fact that by all accounts, like the locker room is fond of Kevin Patullo matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy for Kevin Patullo. You know, I did a story for The Athletic a couple years ago, playing golf with him coaching his daughter, who is like this golf phenom, and is going to like go on and play college golf and potentially
maybe you can give me some pointers
potentially to the tour one day. But it was awesome to just spend that afternoon with them. I'm very happy for Kevin Patullo that he gets this opportunity, which has turned into a potential head coach springboard.
I mean,
we'll see how it goes.
I think it's Rich's newsletter this morning. He said like this should be like, and this is an OC's dream, right? Like you're coming into an opportunity here with one of the best wide receiver rooms in football, the best running back season ever in the history of the game, a quarterback that just won Super Bowl MVP, an offensive line that is, I mean, 4/5 of it, the 1/5 is unknown a little bit. Like you couldn't ask for much more to have an offense at your disposal than Kevin Patullo has. So, you know, with that comes some pressure and some, better get it right. But like if he has aspirations, and I'm sure he does, of becoming a head coach one day, if he's successful the next 2-3 years, I mean, he's fast tracked to becoming a head coach.
Now, Jimmy, as the person in charge of content at PHLY, how do you feel about the suggestion for a 420 episode where Julia just takes some gummies and watches Lord of the Rings?
Very in favor of. Now, Julia and my wife, when Lord of the Rings was coming out originally, I believe there was some elf braided hair and and midnight midnight showings.
Julia's head is in her hands right now
of the release on the release.
I'm proud
day.
of this. I'm proud of this. We went to every midnight
I don't think
screening.
she has any shame about this.
Every midnight screening, and then we used. Addie and I both had really long hair, but hers was lighter, so I braided hers like Legolas, and then we used fireplace tools to do some. You know, we were in high
That's
school.
a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, no, not like fighting really, but just like
but there
prop.
This was in high school.
Yes.
It's basically a run back of that, like 25 years later.
Yeah.
So
Did you do?
There wasn't
did you do like elf ears?
No, just the braids. We weren't
braids,
that. We weren't that proactive.
Very funny image.
You were feeling lazy for some reason.
For some reason, we were just the braids were all we could do.
Sluggish,
Yeah.
I fully support a 420 Lord of the Rings day. Isn't there a new show coming out or just came out on Amazon?
Rings of Power?
Yeah. Isn't that fairly new?
Relatively, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
The Elven world. I dabble, but like not like that.
I like the movies a lot, but I haven't revisited them. Mugatu? Yes, I don't know if the people knew that.
Yes,
your
my wife and Julia are besties. Yeah, she is Aunt Julia.
By where Truemark Financial is. Right?
Yeah. They went to school right by Truemark Financial. Yeah, she is Aunt Julia in our house. And when I was FaceTiming,
people are saying like maybe the PHLY hiring policies are just as incestuous as the Eagles.
Well, right, you bring
offense.
people along with you that work hard and do a good job. You empower people in your network.
Cronies.
Yeah, very funny.
Well, I guess we can save all the show prep that we did.
You can do that with Zach
for tomorrow.
Yeah.
All the position. Tomorrow was going to be the futures players draft. Really the highlight of the offseason. We can push that to next week. Very exciting stuff.
I really want to get into this name board of 32 and the seating.
Let's see. I can pull it up here somewhere.
Oh, wow.
I'll get the photo.
So 32 of each. So you have 64 names.
Oh no, it's going to be 64 boys' names. We've got more boys' names to choose from.
I thought boys' names were easier.
All right. You ready?
Oh, we're actually sharing names?
I'll give you all 32.
Wow.
Adele, Thea,
Like it.
Lena, Maeve, my Both kids love the name Maeve.
I know a couple friends with Maves.
Hazel,
I love it.
Quinn, Cora, Rose, Autumn, Veda, Lily, Marin, Irene, Phoebe, Cosette, Ruby, Beatrice, Simone, Leela, Maris, Iris, Perry, Ellis. A lot of isses.
Perry Ellis. That's a
Perry
company.
Ellis. That's a Kansas
Clothing
basketball
line.
player. He played for 14 years.
Yeah.
Sage, Callie, Nina, Leah, Piper, Juliet, Penny, Etta, Scarlett. Very front of the alphabet loaded, just like
I like a lot of those.
Eagles free agents.
There's some
yesterday.
strong seeds in there. There's also an ex-girlfriend of mine in there in the mix.
Yeah, ex-girlfriend of mine in there as well.
I would say get that one out.
She's the one who likes the name. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, there's some strong. Do you have one seeds in your mind?
Again, I am
Yeah.
but merely a
Sure.
spectator in this bracket. Maybe trying to sway calls in one direction or another.
Oh
but-
yeah, you full on drew out the bracket.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great. This is great.
Now you got a nice poster board, ready to go. It's gonna be a little tighter on the guys, but that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Checking out the chats. Oh, we do have some super chats.
Yes.
Matt says Jahan Dotson was wearing an Aaron Moorhead jersey in the unscripted. He seems like the unsung guy of the staff. Maybe a promotion this year. Go Birds
They have
from
what?
LDN.
One more year on him
What's LDN? London?
from London. Yeah. I guess.
Little Debbie's Nose?
Yeah, I was gonna say LDN refers to the
Very helpful,
the
Google.
daily doses of naltrexone that are approximately 1/10 the typical opioid addiction treatment dosage. I don't think it's that.
I think I'm going to go with Little Debbie's Nose. I think that's more likely
Were you
to
a
be
Little
correct.
Debbie's guy or a Tasty Cake guy or a Fryhofer guy up your way? What was the child?
I was not really a Little Debbie's guy.
No.
You know what we liked were the
never got
Entenmann's, you know, we had those the baseball cupcakes with the
Yes.
vanilla
Mhm.
filling in the middle. Ooh, baby.
The ho-ho,
Ooh, baby.
I think is one of the, I don't want to go too hot here, but I think it's like one of the most overrated all-time snacks.
What about a ding dong?
Same.
I like a ding dong.
Yeah. I mean, they're all right. I'm not trying to like poo-poo a ding-dong.
I mean, you do not want to poo-poo a ding dong.
No. But like overrated, like culturally. Like
Oh,
they were always
culturally.
kind of like talked about as like it, you know? Like the ho-ho and the ding-dong. It's like, they're okay.
I mean, I don't feel like I had people yelling at me about ho-hos. and
No, but I feel
ding-dongs,
like in
but-
TV shows and like pop culture, like the ho-ho and the ding-dong and the bonbons were like, weren't they?
Okay. I mean, yeah, I like a butterscotch crimpet as much as the next
Tasty Cake all the way.
guy or gal.
My dad, growing up, always had a stack of Tasty Cake pies on the top of the fridge.
Nice.
Quality move.
Very nice. The other super chat we have, as people try to also figure out what LDN means, from Cash Squatch, says 3 first-round running backs in the latest Daniel Jeremiah mock. Any chance running back is a consideration at 32 as best player available with Saquon's age, Kenny Gainwell potentially leaving, the importance of the run game, and more.
So I was listening yesterday. How likely do you think it is that Gainwell's gone?
I think more likely than not, but not by much. Like
He's not gonna-
I'd put 60 turkeys on it.
Yeah, like nobody's breaking the bank for Kenny Gainwell.
Probably not. But in theory, that's the reason
Shipley.
the Eagles drafted Will Shipley was to take over as the number 2 running back this year. You do wonder. I mean, there's no. It would be a fool's errand to try to chase Saquon Barkley's greatness.
Sure.
But you do wonder how much last season changed the way the Eagles think about the multiplying value of a great running back in this offense. I don't think this year is, and I don't think that a first round running back is really going to be a Howie Roseman thing. However, I don't think they're going to shy away from it. I don't think a second or third round running back this year is that crazy of an idea.
Okay.
Because I think you also want to, we'll get to the offseason priorities at running back. One of mine was like, what's our plan next year for not having to ride Saquon quite so hard?
Right. Absolutely. And I think to your point, like not only are the Eagles reevaluating or evaluating, I think the entire NFL is probably a little bit evaluating, you know, do we want to put more capital into
and I think they are
back?
probably wrong. I do think the lesson from this year, I think you could learn the wrong lesson, that it's worth paying running backs a lot of money. I think it's if you are in a position where you can afford a luxury,
sure,
and you have the
if you have the offensive line and
setup,
yeah, absolutely. There's few teams, but like I think you saw with the Ravens, the Eagles, and even the Packers to a degree. Like if you have the right pieces in place, a running back can be spicy.
Thanks for watching on Fast, all of you television sickos. We appreciate it. And check out the rest of the episode on allphly.com. A little secret for the people watching on YouTube. There's not much of the episode left. They're going to click over to allphly.com and just see like 45 more seconds.
So the mock that was referenced there with the running backs, it was Daniel Jeremiah's.
Yeah.
Did you see who he had the Eagles taking?
I did not.
He had him taking Malachi Starks from Georgia, the safety. So I texted Fran immediately.
Safety's interesting.
And I said this would simply have to be a best player available type of situation. He would say, yeah, I think so, although I do really like the player.
Okay.
I mean, a safety, unless you can convert him to corner.
My eyes would roll into the back of my head if they drafted another Georgia defensive player in the first round. But you can, I mean, if you want to convince me he's the best player available, that's okay.
Yeah. So that's who DJ had. And my LaSalle College High School guy, Abdul Carter, going number 1.
I did see that.
Yeah. So
I don't know. He's going to tank his draft stock to go to 32.
I hope so. Let's get. Did you see him with the personalized Carter 11 Let's Hunt Eagles hoodie?
No.
He was out with the play. God's honest truth, I was blown away that he had a personalized Eagles hoodie.
Yeah, it's crazy
in draft season. Like
it's
very
crazy.
Cool. So he's always going to be an Eagles fan.
Well, there you go.
Let's just get him here.
Just like the people watching this show. Well, they're going to be a PHLY Eagles fan.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really endures.
And everybody should consider becoming a diehard if you're not. Fran's draft guide is amazing.
I find it hard to believe there would be someone smart enough to watch this show, but dumb enough to not be a diehard for Fran.
That would be silly.
I mean, what are you doing?
The amount of work he's putting in, like
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Now you're shaming Zach.
Oh no!
Like,
well, we all
Fran's
know
the hardest working man in the company. Zach,
I believe those words never came out of my mouth. Those were just yours. We all know how crazy.
We got to work off.
Zach, I love you. You work very hard. Enjoy your day.
Yeah, Zach, there's no shame in being the second hardest working person in the company. That's really good. There's a lot of people in the company.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
By the way, Khalif, I forget which name he shouted out, but he said one of the names was Elite.
Okay.
Scarlet Wolf.
People like Scarlet, huh? Okay.
Does Rachel watch the show? Can she?
She knows better than to do that.
Okay. So she can't be
but
influenced.
But I can pass
or
along that this conversation was had, and she can watch
Wolf.
it if she wants. Yeah.
Would that have any influence?
People like Scarlet.
Yeah, that is a good name, Scarlet Wolf. Sounds like an author.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt wants to know if Jamie's ex also works for PHLY.
No, that would be.
People like a Cosette, yeah. People like Scarlet, yeah.
Rose.
Yeah, people really like Scarlet.
Scarlet Wolf.
Now the problem is if too many people like it, then it's not. Then she's not going to want it.
Yeah, then
it's going to be like, oh, it's going to get too popular.
Yeah. Oh, you got a lot of good options in there. Baxter. I have a friend with a daughter named Baxter.
There you go.
Yeah, it's fun. Right. The name process. It's also hard.
Yeah,
and you put a lot of pressure on yourself. Whatever you pick, we got
to get our boys' name bracket going now.
Yeah.
So I'll report back when we do. Thanks to everybody for watching the show. We will talk to you tomorrow. Zach will be back. I'm sure with a vengeance, unlike anything you've ever seen.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more. Maybe there will be some further news coming out about the Eagles coaching staff between now and then. And congratulations to Kevin Patullo, the new Eagles offensive coordinator. We're going to have to change the headline and the thumbnail for this show so it better reflects the content on YouTube. Thanks to everybody for watching and listening. We'll talk to you later. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.